friends of Twitch, welcome one and all to Let's Chat, the conversational series where we sit down with amazing broadcasters on the service, learn about their journey, and have conversations with all of you. What's up, everybody? How you doing? If you are in chat right now and you have the dancing dino emotes, if you got that gummy bear emote, like I want to see all of the hype in chat because this is the very first episode where we're going to have multiple guests on, and I am so excited for our first guests to be the one and only, or technically the two, the Dynamite twins. Let's bring them on the screen. Dynamite, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Oh my heavens, look at all of the love happening in chat for you. You two are incredible. I loved seeing you on the ground at TwitchCon. We had such a great time at that event. You were all over the place, and we have so many things that we talked about that you're working on and are coming forward. But I figure for those in the chat who do not know you, talk a little bit about yourselves. Let people know who you are.
Hi, I'm Lexi.
And I'm Allie.
Allie lost her voice, but normally we sound pretty similar. We're the Dynamite Twins. We do mostly outdoor IRL here in New York City. We focus on events, culture, our relationship as twins and sisters, and we use New York like our stream room so that we can explore different stories with you, our chat, as well as our own.
I love it. I love it. And I have to call out this user in chat that said, I am not that kawaii. All right, what are you talking about? I am covered in tattoos celebrating kawaii culture. Look at my background. Are you kidding me? What happens?
He wants the poofy dress.
They want the poofy dress. Well, those are in my closet right now. I wanted to be demure. I wanted to be, representable for today's show. No, I'm so excited to have you both on because you're working on so many things coming up here soon. It's been great to see you in our Pride Guild that just launched as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure let's start there. Let's talk about your journey as queer creators on the service. Obviously, it's been an interesting one for you and getting you in the mix on that front, but tell a little bit about that history for you and what that's been like.
Do you want to start or should I?
Yeah, I mean, I can start, and then you can jump in when you decide that it's time. That's typically how it works. She's like, actually, Allison, it's time for me to start. Because you are not doing it correctly. Chat doesn't realize, but there are definitely moments where she's like, it's my turn. So
they pull an actually. They do a little like,
yeah.
Actually, this is my turn.
Exactly. So we grew up in Wisconsin, which is not really, now it's a lot better, but growing up, it wasn't really known for being super like queer friendly. And so like I grew up Catholic, so I didn't even like really know that bi was an option for me, So before being like on Twitch and stuff, I just knew that I like had always really loved being around my locker mate and whatever. I just didn't really realize that I was dating a lesbian in a high school way, like a really wholesome way without like calling it dating, right? And I think when I finally got on Twitch, I like I'd been living in New York and I kind of understood it, but I wasn't immersed in the culture as much. And during COVID and just being a part of Twitch, like I could experience so many different types of creators in a safer way. So, but you might want to talk about how we actually decided to come out too.
For me, we're very wholesome streamers, right? That's part of our identity. We tend to not really talk about our sexuality and our identity, and being able to see creators that did help me sort of formulate the questions that I should be asking myself, and also think about the kind of language that described what I was feeling. Sometimes it's hard to even know who you are unless you've seen it with other people. And so we were kind of letting it bubble within us, like asking ourselves questions without actually asking ourselves questions. In our first Pride Parade, we actually tried to stream it. It didn't go very well because we didn't have the right tech. Thank you, 1,000 Dreams Project, for finally making sure that we could stream IRL really well. But before that, Allie flipped off the thing and she's like, why do we keep saying ally? I think we're bi. And we had never even had a conversation with ourselves, like as sisters, let alone our chat.
We just knew it internally. And like, I think we just were afraid to talk to each other about that. And so then when we came out on stream, it was really funny because I didn't realize my parents were there. Like they watch our streams really consistently, but I didn't realize. And my mom typed in chat, like, what do you mean? And then my mods thankfully banned everybody that was in my family for a short period, and because I like immediately text them, we're like, we'll talk about it later.
And then we had to come out the next year again too, because she didn't realize that bi actually meant bi and not ally.
But my parents are super supportive and stuff, but like Twitch being there and everybody being really supportive was really great, because they knew us really well in a different way and accepted us implicitly. That doesn't mean it's been perfect. We've definitely had to ban some people, but like at the end of the day, it's better to be true to who you are.
That's right. I mean, you're hitting on several things, and I know this impacts a lot of broadcasters when it comes to, deciding what to share with their community, or like, should I, expose these personal aspects of myself when it comes to broadcast. A lot of people talk about authenticity, obviously, like showing up as yourselves. Like we were commenting on the incredible Keith Haring jackets that they're wearing right now, which, look at the style that they're rocking right now. It's so good. But obviously, like when people talk about authenticity, you want to think about like, okay, what am I comfortable sharing with my audiences? Are there opportunities to, uplift the communities of which I belong in the conversations that I'm having, or perhaps inspire individuals? But there's always that balance of, how much should I share versus how much do I keep to myself? So I guess like as broadcasters, obviously coming forward your community and your parents simultaneously, which you had to navigate, was a challenge. But I guess like, how do you think of that balance for yourselves of like, this is what we want to share and this is what we want to keep for ourselves when it comes to showcasing?
I think for us, like we also are on the demi spectrum. So I think for us, it's a little bit easier because like if someone comes forward and they're asking us questions, it's always easy to be like, hey, this is our experience and it's really natural. We're definitely being wholesome. It helps in a way because we don't have to like, we're not constantly saying like, oh, like this is my identity, right? And it just sort of slides in naturally. Pride is really great for us because then other people that might not know that side of us get to see it and they get to ask a lot of questions. So for us, we always come from like an educational perspective, right? Of like, if you are asking questions that may feel out of line for us, we're going to always give you the benefit of the doubt first. But if it's truly egregious, because being twins, unfortunately,
we get all the creepers.
Yeah, especially when you say you're bi. They're like, oh, great. So I can be involved
and
as well.
This is not just like an us thing. This is like across the world, just being a femme twin.
Yeah.
So
there's like, lots of challenges when it comes to like those users coming through and like setting the boundaries. And I think I've said this on previous shows, like not every viewer coming in is a viewer for you or for your journey or for your channel. There are individuals that come in solely to try to, when you think of like when you go to a concert, that random person in like, let's say a bar venue who's constantly shouting, play Freebird at the act. It sometimes feels like that on Twitch, where there's a person coming in and say they're trying to make the attention on them versus the show. Yeah. So, that's why, moderation features exist on Twitch. That's why we can segment and say, you know what, actually, you're not contributing anything here. Step out of the space. Like you're not for me, and being comfortable with that because, the numbers will always shift in your entirety of your career.
Right.
But you really want to build the communities that stand for what you stand for and align with your visions and your goals and what you're hoping to achieve in the space, and feel fully comfortable with that. I know
having a stronger community is more important.
That
and there's an X button for a reason.
I love saying that.
Just click that X and move on.
Exactly. And there's so much content on Twitch. It's just like, it always is fascinating to me, the users that intend to try to make the show about them in a chat when there's so many different broadcasters they can, hop over to at any point. So it's just, it's always that fun balance for yourself. And oh, heck yeah, we have another guest on stream. Who is this?
This is Nico. He was going for the monitor. We moved our setup around a little bit. This is actually our living room. So every time we stream indoors, we have to completely rearrange our entire living room. And he's not liking the placement of the monitor. So we have him in kitty jail right now.
Oh no. Okay. Well, So similar to using the X when it comes to the chat rooms on Twitch, you can also do the same with your cats if you would like to when you move your monitors. You just mentioned, like, obviously you're known for doing a lot of IRL, and we were talking about like the balance of community action, interaction, and all of that when it comes to like a standard broadcast like this. What are the challenges you face when you go out in the real world and you're broadcasting that you
Oh,
like think through, like the considerations you have to have when going into spaces?
I always like to tell people, well, going into spaces is very different than actually like broadcasting. For me internally, I want to like try to control many factors. And with IRL streaming, the one thing that you really need to do is be okay with not being able to control everything or everyone. Your sound may not be perfect, your data may not be perfect, the people that you're vibing with may not be perfect, right? And so you have to be okay with letting go certain things and being like, I'm here, I'm ready to show off XYZ, I'm ready to have a great time, and just come with an open attitude. In terms of like going into different spaces, Allie?
I think, like for me, I'm not. It depends what the question is really trying to aim at, but I think for me, like when I'm walking around, my social anxiety kicks off when it's like someone like you that I know pretty well, right? But if I'm in the middle of Times Square and there are hundreds of people, I'm probably not going to see most of them, 99% of them, ever again. So they're not real. I mean, they are real, but they don't impact my life on a day-to-day basis. So they just turn into like NPCs in my video game.
No, that doesn't mean that we're not respectful, right?
Like we still recognize them as humans, but like in my life, I will never see them again, most likely. So I'm just here to have a good time. And as long as I'm not interfering with their life, as long as like I'm not, as long as I'm putting good things out in the world, then in my opinion, it's a win. And if some people have problems with that, then I just respect them as much as I can. In terms of going into like venues, we try to like, certain ones we'll reach out to ahead of time, and then other ones we're like, welp, YOLO, and we'll do a backup if there's a problem. But they're like, I mean, there's sometimes ones that we've reached out to, they've invited us to be there and they're really excited, and then like one server at the restaurant decides that it's their prerogative to kick us out, and then the manager's like, oh wow, we didn't realize she didn't want to be filmed. But like, you know what I mean, like you just can't plan for that, so you just kind of have to roll with the punches. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be sad about it, but you know.
It's always adjusting to the spaces that you're in. As Amy Doggy, one of the partners of the service, actually highlighted, people are not real. I think it's actually a good aspect to think through for yourself when you're entering into a space. Like, obviously it's a mindfulness towards the others that are in that area. Like, if, you know, keeping the camera more focused on the show versus on others, not inserting yourselves in other people's lives and, you know, being oppressive. I know some people do that for quote content, but it's really, you have to go into a space acknowledging that those individuals are also living their lives, and you don't want to force them into something that they don't want to be a part of. I mean, for most of the people in chat, it's like, if you walk out into public and all of a sudden somebody's thrusting a camera in your face, do you want that when you're going to get your groceries, or when you're, you know, trying to fix a tire on a car or something? No, you know, you don't. So it's like that mindfulness towards others is incredibly important. Also, like, as you mentioned, when it comes to like going into like more enclosed spaces, like let's say you're going to a restaurant, pre-vetting with the restaurant is obviously a good recommendation across the board for anybody. Just like, hey, is it okay if we film in here, and structure. But if it's like those YOLO moments, sometimes the YOLO moments of like, let's just see what happens, may lead to content if it's approached with positivity. Like, you're not going into a space to create damage or an issue, but it may lead to a discovery that could be made that your audience, you know, enjoys with you. So I think those are really good things to think about.
Camera angles, right?
Yeah.
Like whenever we're doing those sort of YOLO moments, right? We're always going to try to focus it more on us than other people. Other people are there to like give you the ambiance, right? They're not there to be on the show, right?
Or just like going into like DreamHack, there was like a Lego thing, and there were a lot of kids there, and just being like, well, I'm going to keep the camera higher. And if there was like a kid that wanted to be on, but it was clear their parent didn't want to be on, and so then I tried to like keep moving the camera away until the parent realized.
So I guess that's a challenge too with IRL, because you're not just thinking about like, what am I doing? You also have to think very much like, this is how am I producing this?
Right. And there's just like a whole level of consent. Like even with our cats, like we'll take them out, and like little Nico here who's falling asleep will like wear a cat camera. Right. But some days like that's the plan and he's just not having it today. You know?
Just like he's not having those monitors. Like as Addie says, Nico's passing out is a mood, and I feel it.
Well,
Coming off
this is
events.
nap time. He's actually very upset that I'm standing here. This is his sit on Allie while she edits and does emails time.
See? And you're disturbing that process. I'm so sorry, Nico. I'm so sorry we're causing that for you right now. But there's a lot of exciting things you actually have planned coming up here. Yes. Halloween, obviously, is just around the corner for many of us. Hopefully, y'all have purchased your costumes out there, internet. Make sure you get them. I just purchased mine. It will be an interesting one. But I'm curious, like, what are your plans for Halloween? Will you be doing more IRL on the street, or are you going to go into haunted houses? Like, what's your plan?
So the one that I think our chat is the most excited about is we're going to be going to Blood Manor. It's a interactive haunted house. I thought it was going to be like, oh wow, super fun and cheesy. No, it is interactive. And so we're really excited about that. That will be coming up the week of the 25th. We need to finalize the time with the venue, but they've agreed for us to come and live stream that. We are big scaredy cats. Just want you all to know that.
I am very
just want you all to know.
I'm very scared just thinking about it. We also have something called the Great Big Pumpkin Smash, which is actually the day after Halloween.
It's the November 2nd.
November 2nd. So, but after like the Day of the Dead and stuff too. So you basically bring all of your pumpkins from New York City and they smash them all, and then it's used as fertilizer. There's also a dog Halloween parade. Mm-hmm. Frankie was like one of the favorite for the crowd when she first did
Frankie's
it.
A cat, by the way.
Frankie's one of the cats.
She won an award at a dog show. We're very proud of her.
But we'll see if the cats are up for it that day. We have so much to do.
And I'm working on the secret Halloween costume that is... I'm really, really excited about it. Allie's really nervous to wear it, but I'm so excited. It has to do with one of the venues here in New York City. I'm going to leave it as a surprise for my chat, but all of my supplies should be arriving today, so I can't wait to start constructing it for all of you. It's got a little bit of pop culture with a twist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, pop culture with a twitch. All right.
A twist, if it were. Not just
a twist. It will be a twist. That's very exciting. So for the haunted house that you're doing, is it like an actor's haunted house, or is it like an interactive? Yes. No, there's going to be like ghosty ghosts, like actual things like swinging your way.
Blood Manor is actually a haunted house. Like it is haunted. It's labeled as one of the haunted, like most haunted places in New York City. So it is haunted, but then they fill it with actors and actresses from horror films.
This sounds horrifying.
It is horrifying. We went past it and there was a woman like banging on the window and just like dripping down. And Allie was like, did you catch the name of that? Is that what we signed up for? And I was like, yes, we did.
And that is what you're going to be going in. Oh my heavens.
Yeah. I think we're also going to sign up for there's one that's a little bit chiller that's supposed to be more funny as well, so that we get the full spectrum, so that I'm not like, and we're going to probably do that one first so that we're not completely thrown off haunted houses forever. And we have like some fun stuff like going to a Beetlejuice bar and stuff as well.
That would be great. They have some fun bars. I know like in Los Angeles, there was one that was themed after like the Star Wars cantina that Kevin Smith would do his podcast at a lot. I love those themed spaces. I think those are great, obviously, to showcase with the community, and like on it, like it just makes for great content, hands down, to see these things. So with those things coming up, like how are you building your schedule for that? Is it going to be a Halloween week of events? Or are you going to try to pack it all into multiple days? What are you thinking when it comes to the approach?
We're lucky in a way because some of these things are organized for us. Great city of New York does it. So some of them will be before though, and it's literally just the day. So like the dog parade is the weekend before Halloween. I think it's the 19th. So we will be doing like that based on New York's schedule. But all the other things like the Beetlejuice bar, that will probably be the week of Halloween.
Yeah.
Blood Manor will also be the week of Halloween.
But like the actual Halloween parade is on Halloween. You know, like that's determined by the city.
And it's really cool. It's got giant puppets. People build them 2 months in advance upstate, and then they truck them all in.
Yeah. So, but certain things like our chat's going to decide, like when we get to 50 organic subs, then we're going to go on a walk to the Nightmare Before Christmas walk in the Bronx and stuff like that.
Sounds great.
And if they can get to 70, we'll be doing a jack-o'-lantern contest with other streamers, which I'm really excited about. I think I can win. I think I can win. Allie thinks she's going to win.
I might win because people pity me, though. I don't think I can actually win for art's sake.
Do we have pity party in chat? Is the pity party present in chat? Like, who feels for them right now?
Lexi's so much better at art than I am.
You were like, a few of the things you were highlighting are Tim Burton. Are you a fan of the Burton?
Yes, love it. It was my favorite movie in high school, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I listened to it so much that my dad, like every morning I'd wake up to the soundtrack, and my dad tried to throw away my Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack CD, and so then I bought the limited edition one from, it was either Spencer's or Hot Topic, but it was $200. And then my mom
saved for weeks for it.
And it came in a giant Jack Skellington head.
That is, well, one, I need it because I'm also a fan of Nightmare Before Christmas, which, fun fact, Nightmare Before Christmas was actually not a Tim Burton film. I don't know if the internet knows this. This is my actually. They designed it. So Jack Skellington, they designed while they were at Disney. But it's a Heinrichs film, actually. His stop motion partner was the director on that film because Tim was working on Batman Returns simultaneously. Little factoids for the Twitch chat.
I know it's one I prefer. Not Batman.
Not Batman Returns with Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman or DeVito as the Penguin, but you know, we go with what we got. I was actually curious, like, you know, how far ahead do you plan these things? Because a lot of people like want to do events on Twitch, and like there's a lot of celebrations. Disability Awareness Month we're celebrating. It's Black History Month in the UK. How far ahead do you plan these events for yourselves when it comes to, hey, let's capture this or let's cover this?
Some we capture like some we figure out even the day of or 2 days before because we missed something. But in general, when we start thinking about the holidays, we plan like months in advance. So, but that's just us. That's just us. Yeah. You know, like there's been events we've been trying to get in for years. Like we were trying to get into New York Fashion Week, and we finally got in. You know, this year finally. So, but I think most we're looking at like a month out or 2 months out for bigger events, just to make sure that we're prepared accordingly, and that we have the access that we need. But other times we're just like, yo, the bigger the event, the further ahead you have to go because you need to have buy-in from like those parties, right? So like, for example, like the ball drop, we can be there on the ground, but this year we're trying to make sure that we can actually go up to see the ball. Right. So that requires permission. So we're already working on that. So we've been working on that since August. Right. So like we could go to the event same day and that would be fine because we have that access already. But for us to actually get the next level, then that takes longer. And I think like, especially when you're organizing too, like I'm trying to do an IRL raid train. So if you know anybody in IRL, make sure that you get them to sign up for it because it's free to sign up and to participate.
And where can they find out about that actually? Is it in the IRL Club? It's in the IRL Creator Club. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
But like those things, like I tried to organize it 2 months out. And then I found out that a lot of creators do things last minute. And like I'm one of those people too for certain things. But if you're going to do something that's bigger, you have to do it months out so that everybody involved and then maybe like sponsors or Twitch can get involved, right?
That's right. That's right. Now, I know a lot of broadcasters, and especially for those in chat who broadcast, a lot of our relationship is literally with the monitors that are in front of us. When it comes to like effective collaboration, like as you're seeking people to join in with you for, let's just say, the IRL raid train or for an event, how do you vet like this person's like in it for the actual collaboration? Or I know sometimes creators are like, oh, I feel like, somebody might just be wanting to get something out of me. Like, how do you do that gauge professionally for yourselves?
For me, it's the vibes, right? Like, I know some people, they vet with like numbers or with like their past collaborations. I think past collaborations and whatnot, that's also important, right? Like if somebody is collaborating with someone that I don't really agree with, I'm not going to want to work with them, right? But just because somebody has never worked with people that I know doesn't mean I don't want to work with them now. So I do a lot, like, you never know who's watching. Just want to point that out.
Yeah.
We do a lot of lurking. We actually have a secret lurker channel that we go on to other people's channels because I don't ever watch my viewer list, but I know other people do. And I want to see how people act when they don't know I'm in chat, right?
Yeah, so I think like if we watch you, then you just automatically, we would love to work with you. But like if we don't know you at all, then we just try and take a step back.
Yeah.
And we try to like figure out like what the actual goal is, because for us it's like, are we hanging out? Do you just want to meet us? Do you want to be on our stream? Like, are we streaming at the same time? I prefer not to stream at the same time.
It's really hard.
It's really hard to do that, but we have done it. So it just kind of is like, what do you want to do and why do you want to do it?
Like, right? Everything is a conversation. So if we can't get through the initial conversations, then it's probably not going to be a good collaboration, right? So I always try to like tell people, hey, DM me, send me a message. That way I can get to know you if I don't already know you.
Right. Or just like, what's your timeline?
Yeah. And like, yeah, what's the timeline of like what you're thinking? Like, I know sometimes people will just message like same day and say, hey, can we do this together? That is the hardest thing as creators, because like we're being pulled in 500 directions at all points. And especially like as Twitch staff and as a creator, my time is literally dictated by my Google Calendar at this point of like, okay, where am I? What's going on? But I think you highlighted a key element, and I was actually double tapped by All Day NYC in chat. People got to pass the vibe check first.
Right.
But like, do we share the same interests, the same goals, the same things we want to accomplish together? I know back when I was on 5-second films, the way that we'd operate, people would be like, oh, we want to be in a 5-second film on YouTube. I was like, okay, great. You have to bring jokes to the table. So bring 3 jokes that you'd want to shoot in order to be considered as part of it. We wouldn't just like, put people in to have them in. But you find with like, hey, set the parameters of like, hey, this is how we could potentially work together. If they bring stuff to the table, wonderful. But if, a person's just saying, hey, can you, slide me in there? It may not work out to the best of your ability.
But sometimes it does work. Like I have had people ask same day because they didn't realize that their stopover was longer or whatever. So sometimes it works. It's just less likely to.
That. And so, as you're looking forward, obviously there's great events coming up with Halloween. There's the stuff you're looking forward as it go into the further in the year. There'll be obviously big things around holidays. I know a lot of people are preparing for. What is the thing that both of you would love to accomplish, let's say in the next year or two as creatives? Like getting into New York Fashion Week was a thing for you. Like, what is that next benchmark for you that you want to say, we did this?
I want to be an ambassador, but that's so hard.
Alex, like, let me just put it out there, Twitch.
And no better way than to do it on official programming. Let's just say that. And we have some amazing ambassadors in chat. The ambassador program is honestly a fantastic program, and a lot of our ambassadors lean in close with Twitch staff across the board. The applications are open, so if anybody is in the chat and thinking, I really stand for uplifting across the entire space. Speaking of like passing the vibe check, the ambassador program are people that approach the space with selflessness. And I love like, especially like the energy that you both bring to the table. Anytime you're broadcasting, meeting with folks, you come from a place of obviously like, we want to create great things, but you're also incredibly selfless with how you give your times to folks.
Even asking that felt really selfish. I was like, I said it, and I was like, my heart is getting all feeling.
No, there's a difference, and I think this is something that I think the greater ecosystem can understand. There's it's not selfish to say, I hope to achieve something, or I want to achieve something, or I want to get to this next stage. That's not selfishness, especially when you continue to open doors for others and you're sharing the space with other creators. That's not selfishness.
Yeah.
Selfishness
But that being
is,
said, I know it's really hard. I'm just gonna say that out there. There's so few
yeah,
people and there's so great accounts. So
it is.
like, you know, like there's so many people that I'm like, you're not an ambassador already. But like
Yeah.
the amount of times I've thought that is like way more than people like even than people who have said that they've applied, right? So I think
Yeah.
it's just really, really hard. I think I don't know, is there something that's
Ultimately,
like up to us to control that is like one of your goals, Lexi?
well, I know that we want to do a lot more hosting, right?
Yeah.
We love showing off other people and what they're doing, and also just having great conversations. Like that's really important to us. So we're trying to look at organizing IRL events, but also off IRL, doing more things inside.
Mm.
I want to ship people food or
Oh, I
have
love
people
that.
all buy from the same things. So I'm trying to organize right now with GP TV.
I
They're a
love
girl
them.
group. They are amazing gamers, but they also have fantastic stories and just great vibes. We're probably going to be sending them bagels. And it's going to be Bay Gals, talking about like all just sorts of stories that we have as women, and then switching it up and doing it with other foods too. So in terms of things that we can control, doing hosting and bringing more people together in sort of a collaborative way in sort of scripted formats is going to be, I think, what we're looking towards. But big dreams eventually. I'd love to be on a big stage for Twitch.
All right. Well, I think all of these things that you're outlining are definitely possible in your career paths, and
Yes.
especially when it comes to the collaboration aspects. Having you in the guilds is an absolute blessing, and I think it's a wonderful space to collaborate. So big shout out to our guild members who are in chat, as well as our guilds team at Twitch, who are working heavy behind the scenes to make sure that those opportunities are present.
And the Creator
I just
Club.
want to, and a creator clubs that we have launched, and from what I understand, more are coming. So keep those watch on your dashboards for your notifications based on how you broadcast. Join these collectives because our journeys are not solo. And there's never been a single person in the history of entertainment that has solely achieved everything by themselves. So always remember that and include those people as part of your parties. Dynamite Twins, you're great. I just want to say I wish you nothing but the greatest success. Everybody in chat should be following them across everything that they
Thank
do,
you.
and I'm excited to see you get the absolute everything scared out of you when you step into that haunted house that you're actually nervous about.
Yes, and if all goes well, we should be climbing a really tall building too later in the year. So that'll be another big scare test for Miss I'm Afraid of Heights. So
Please, with all the safety equipment and everything in
Oh,
place.
it's completely safe. Like they have very strict rules. So hopefully,
Yes.
cross your fingers, chat. We need all of your luck for that.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having us on it.
We
Means
really
a lot.
appreciate it.
You're the best. I look forward to chatting with you. And yes, let's keep chatting about all the things you're working on, so we continue to celebrate here on Twitch. Thank you both. We'll see you soon, and also bless the cat. Hopefully, nothing gets knocked over.
No, it's good now.
We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for coming on. Aren't they seriously the best duo? I tell y'all, they are just true powerhouses in our industry, and I see them only continuing to climb across the board. So keep sending them the love. Make sure you toss them follows. I am really, really excited as well for our next guest we're going to bring on today's show. They are in the depths of preparation on a lot of programming across Twitch. The one and only Chalky. Chalky, are you there? Oh my heavens, hello.
Hey, hello.
How you doing?
Hi.
I thank you for joining. I know it's later in the evening on your front, because you're actually joining us from across the pond, from what I understand.
Yes, yeah, I'm just like in the UK, so it's about 8:30 here. Well,
Okay,
thanks for having
all
me
right.
on.
Well, hopefully you got some dinner in and everything too before hopping on air. If not, after this, make sure you eat. And the same goes for you, internet. Hydrate and eat. But Chocolate, for those who don't know you in our chat, tell a little bit about your broadcast yourself and what you work on.
Yeah. So I'm Leon or Choki. I go by either on Twitch, or anything that is thrown my way, honestly. I guess like I'm just a variety streamer kind of baby on the platform, honestly. Like I know a lot of people have been doing it a lot longer than me. But I just kind of try to bring a nice positive vibe and try out basically anything. Like for this year, I set a challenge to try a new game every single week, and so far I've managed. It's
Sweet
been
heavens.
really good though. Oh, sorry.
So you're doing it every week at this point. I guess, how are you selecting the titles that you approach? Is it based on your interests? Is your audience helping dictate? Like, hey, dive into this next. How are you choosing them right now?
Yeah, it's kind of a variety. Like sometimes I get sent keys for games and play those. Sometimes it's a game that I've really wanted to play and just not had an excuse for. Because I think before this year I had kind of like quite strict, like these are the games I play. And then I also have like my chat will be like, this is a game that we really think you'd like. Some of my favorite games that I've played have been games that were recommended. I did it as a new game for 1 week and then just kept playing it every other week afterwards because I was like, I need to see how this ends.
Oh my heavens. So what has been the most difficult for you so far this year? Of like, if you're setting that max of like, hey, I'm gonna play this for a week and try to beat it this week, what has given you the most trouble?
Probably the most difficult game was probably like Celeste. I didn't beat it in a week. I don't tend to try and finish them the same week I start because I think that'll break me. But Celeste is like this beautiful precision platformer, and I had never done a precision platformer in my life. I'm pretty bad at Mario. The only reason I ever beat Mario Kart Wii was we had a student come visit, and they beat the game for me. So it was a big challenge, but like I worked through it, and I think I had to kind of fight against the anxiety of like being bad at something on stream a lot, and it felt really good to finish it in the end.
How do you feel, I guess, when you have the sort of that vulnerability? Because I know when you think of Twitch, or at least like early era Twitch, there was a lot of like the professional esports players, like with StarCraft or MOBAs or Counter-Strike, and there's still a lot of like folks in the space who like will always dive in on hard mode or go for like the toughest difficulty in anything they're approaching. How do you feel being vulnerable, I guess, when you're playing a game and sort of discovering that for your first go?
I think it's really interesting. Like, honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think what I've seen a lot on the platform when I talk to other creators, a lot of people have this like, I don't want to look a certain way in front of my audience, or like, I have locked myself in this genre. I only play shooters and now I have to play shooters. But I feel like I've kind of just walked in and was like, I'm bad at this. I'm going to continue to be bad at it. But it's been really nice because that vulnerability, I think, kind of comes with people are more willing to be vulnerable with you as well. Like, people are quite willing to talk about the games that they're not good at and, like, be a supportive space. I mean, I did Hades recently as well, and there was a point where, like, I was so close to giving up, but everyone in chat was like, no, we've been here. Like, we've also
we're here for you. We want to see you win.
This exact boss fight. Yeah.
I love that. And that's sort of like the reward that you get as a broadcaster diving into something like that. I think of like games like Elden Ring or any of the Souls born titles. It's like it has a greater payoff, I think, putting you into a situation of like, I don't know if I can do this, and then achieving it creates just a great moment of hype and event for the community as well when you overcome that challenge in front of you versus them knowing, oh, they're always going to just like cruise through this thing. It just has a different vibe to it.
Definitely. I think it's like, if I go to a stream to watch someone win, that's a very particular vibe, and sometimes you do want that. But I think sometimes it's really nice to see that growth. Like, I mean, it's one of the things I love the most about going back and looking at my old gameplay of these things. Like, as I started Hades and I was really bad at the movement and stuff, and you can see that confidence grow, and I think there's got to be something about watching people develop that and kind of find that I think really is interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. And you got some, cosigns on this side. I know Pink Lady said here in the chat, being bad at games is so much fun. Signed a struggling gamer. And then Ari Summer also says, like, the real homies are the ones that watch you fight Blue Baby Boss and Wukong. Like, it's great to have them along with you for the journey of achievement. And, when it comes to games can have like challenges to them, or it can be like the cozy vibe of like, hey, we're just going to tune out and have this moment together. There are individuals that take on additional challenges with games. Like, I see Thormangander in chat, like they play stuff with Donkey Kong bongos. I'm like, why are you doing that to yourself? Like, why are you putting yourself through but
It is
but it's like it's
funny
fun
to
to
see that.
showcase that. Like it showcases just a different way of play, which is like for all broadcasters, we try to figure out like what is that thing that's so uniquely us that warrants a person to come into our space and say, "Oh, I identify with the way that you approach this or how you enjoy games." I guess for like your strategy with your channel, obviously, approaching a new title is a component of that. What are some of the other elements of your show that are so uniquely you or with your community have you found?
That's a good question. Tricky question though. Yeah, I think like part of it is that kind of uniqueness, the fact that there's always something new. But I think I'd say a lot of it is also just like the community space. Like I'm still quite a like small streamer on the platform. I know there's some people in chat who will tell me off for saying the word small.
Oh, I'm literally across from you, and I will tell you off for calling yourself a small streamer. Anybody, don't call yourself a small streamer. You're a broadcaster. You're growing. You're in the growth phase. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'd say I'm still growing and learning how to do it. I think there's kind of like a roughness around that people enjoy, but I think it is also like I guess I bring like the willingness to just explore what streaming is, mess around with it, and enjoy that like streaming doesn't have to be one kind of thing. I mean, like in the last week I've done like a cosplay painting stream instead of a regular game stream. We've been doing all sorts of random like tinker streams. We did a kind of coding more like stream the other day because it was just something to try. And I think there's something in that, but I think also what I'm quite proud of as a community is that we're very open and unapologetic. Like we're willing to talk about things that I think people shy away from talking about on Twitch, like mental health. We've been quite honest about like where people are at in mental health. Like I haven't been having the best time lately, and I'm quite open about that because I think it's important that we talk about that, especially because if I can go onto stream and seem all good and happy for a day, that's one thing, but I don't really think that's fair to project without some honesty. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't know.
You
I
have to
think
strike that balance.
that's important.
You always have to strike that balance when it comes to how you represent yourself, because there's the concepts of like forced positivity. Some people like will say that it's almost toxic at times if a person is just like always presenting themselves as positive and they're not really showcasing who they are. And one of the glories of live entertainment, whether you're watching an artist perform on stage at a concert or a theater show or something on Twitch, we're showing up as ourselves in the moment and in this lived experience. And it's only this moment that we share together. So even our conversation is like, we will never replicate this exact conversation again because it's happening right now, live for this collective. And I'm glad that you have that openness and vulnerability, or at least like keeping your space safe for conversations around concepts like mental health. There's a great book that honestly just came out called The Anxious Generation, and my team who may be in the chat as well hear me talk about it all the time, but it talks about how when these devices ended up in our hands, what it did to our mental states, always being on versus those who grew up, myself included, with like a 56K modem and being able to, disconnect from the internet and go explore the world outside. So having that mindfulness towards balance for yourself is absolutely key to a long-term career. And so do you do anything else like outside of broadcast to like help clear your head or like reset yourself anytime you feel that pressure starting to build? Like what are there certain things you do for yourself?
Yeah, it's something that like I think quite honestly I've been learning to do. Like I think I've been quite lucky that for a lot of the time where I've been talking about mental health, I have been like, I've always been ADHD and anxious and stuff, but I've been able to kind of put that aside in a lot of spaces. But with where I've been recently, I think I've been having to learn that a bit more. So I've been working on like just going outside more, getting some space. I think things like cleaning up the room I'm in and stuff, like that's really important. You don't realize how much your space impacts your reality. And just like exercise and talking to people, I think like a big part of it has been just like finding who I know, who I am able to have conversations with, and kind of find a way out of that. 'Cause it's mental health is a lot of work emotionally and physically. And I think like if you have people who are willing to kind of be there and around, it gets a lot easier because you're not just like climbing this mountain on your own anymore.
Yes. And I'm glad you've come to that realization of, because many broadcasters, and we can fall into this trap. I was mentioning how like our relationship is oftentimes, just with the monitor in front of us. And then we get absorbed in the data and the analytics and all these other factors that people say, oh, well, this is what equates to success, which further impacts us. But you're hitting on a few things that are very key that people should be mindful to, is like the space you live in and you create for yourself is going to impact you emotionally, energy wise, all of that stuff you have to think about. When it comes to the amount you're broadcasting, how much energy you're putting forward in your shows, and what that impacts you energy wise is something you have to think about. Like, I always yell at people who are doing like 8-hour plus broadcasts, unless it's an event or something they've organized, but doing it daily, it's like no other entertainment career under the sun has people broadcasting for 8 hours
Yeah,
straight, and the potential
it's
damage that
rough.
does to your throat, to your body, and you feel it. And so it's finding those balances for yourself as broadcasters out there will be great. And I love that you highlighted the different things you're experimenting with on your shows. Like, hey, let's try programming out. Let's try cosplay. Let's try some art. Let's do these things, because the growth as a broadcaster doesn't just come from the numbers and the metrics and all that stuff. I like to oftentimes just say, like, that's all secondary. The growth comes from the experience that you're presenting or going through on your show, whether it's learning a game, beating a game, learning a language, doing all those things. That's what actually strengthens personal growth, because the metrics always will fluctuate. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
you're incorporating that on your side. Now, you mentioned finding your people or collaborating. I know you're a huge member of the guilds right now, and you're heavily invested on
Yeah.
that front. Could you just talk a little bit about your experience with the guilds on your side?
Yeah, so I've been in the guilds, I want to say 6 months now. I was like one of the first UK people in the space before it was like officially accepting UK people. I kind of managed to sneak my way into there, I guess. And in my time there, I think like it's kind of just been a amazing, positive space, getting to meet so many other people, like from so many different backgrounds, and it's also nice just to make a load of friends who live across the pond in the US and stuff. I didn't really know that many people doing Twitch in general, but also to know what it's like in different places is quite interesting, because I think we all have kind of our own way of doing it, our own audiences. But yeah, so I joined it then, and since then I think I've just kind of been like constantly trying to work out like where I can contribute and do something, because I'm very much the kind of person like I don't like sitting in a space and being like waiting for something to happen. I'm like, if I'm here, I have the resources, I want to do something with it. Like, I used to run the LGBT site in my uni because I was just like, someone's got to run it. I'll do it. I very much fill the gaps if there's something. So like I tried to kind of start more community mornings there. So we have a coffee morning we do like twice a month now, and it's just like a chance for people to just come in and chat, and none of it's streamed. It's just an opportunity for us as the guild to really just like have our own little space to talk about what it's like to be a streamer, and also decompress and talk about everything but streaming. We've had entire arguments about like British food versus American food and stuff in there.
So which is better? Because yours obviously have less additives than ours. So my gut is probably British food's better.
I would say so. Like, but was like in terms of British food, it very much depends if you mean like the beige food and like the very like white British food and the rest of it. I think like the UK has a lot of like imported food, and that's where the best food is. Otherwise it does get a little boring. It's just like sausage rolls and things.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, like for chat, I'm curious your thoughts of is American food superior or British food superior? I'm very curious what folks think. And I actually saw Kanara, who's actually a chef on Twitch, shouting out the guilds, but I bet you have opinions on the food as well. But I know as part of your work with the guilds, you're working on some elements for Black History Month in the UK, which is a separate celebration than what happens in America, because the lived experience of Black individuals is different in both territories. I'm curious what you're working on your side for this month.
Yeah. So, we've been trying to do just like anything for Black History Month UK. I think it's like it's a very different culture, but also, I mean, I very much went on the side of it's another excuse to party. Like, you guys have Black History Month in February, which is like one of the shortest months of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of a shame. Whereas like here it's in October because people wanted it to be at the beginning of the school year, so it was like part of the school curriculum, and so we very like I've very much been trying to go into it with the mindset of like this is just an opportunity for everyone to do something, especially because like we don't have that many UK people in the guilds. It's kind of been a fight to find all the UK people and gather them around for something so quickly. But
Mm.
so like the main thing I've been running is we've got a raid train going on. Like it actually started earlier today and is going right now. I was just before the stream running around making sure that handover happened properly from one of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going. And we've got people from like all over the world. Like I think Aicha, who started the train for us today, lives in the Netherlands and they don't have a Black History Month at all. So we've kind of just
Mm.
been like, yeah, come along. And we've got quite a lot of US folks in the train as well. It's just been like a really nice time though to get everyone in the guild together. And I think a lot of the US folks are also taking this as like a preparation run before like American Black History Month as well.
Amazing, amazing. So for those in the chat who aren't aware what what constitute a raid train or how it operates, just talk through just real quick about like how the operation is going today. Is it obviously it's a collective of broadcasters, but how's it going to operate?
Yeah, so it's basically like when one streamer goes live for a bit, and when they finish their slot, they then raid on to the next person. Then we got like a nice little raid message that everyone puts in talking about like Black Brilliance. We've got a little badge for all of the streamers as well that I spent a while making. And it's just like a way to kind of give people like a round stop tour of creators and introduce them. Because I think like on Twitch, it's sometimes really hard to find good creators that you gel with. And especially like I know a lot of people talk about, especially in like history months, the idea of like diversifying your following. And as much as it's easy for someone to say that, I think it's quite hard to do that. So it's a nice chance to basically just get like flung around a load of Twitch, see who is on doing all sorts of things, see all this variety, and like share communities with people.
I love that. I love that. And I know that there's some new feature sets that have been great. I actually did a test with this with our ambassadors, which was the shared chat mechanisms, like when we're doing a multiplayer title. Now we're introducing our communities, like the Quiet Guy community, to the Curious Joy community or to the Ash Said Hi community. So we start to get these crossovers where we all exist on this service, but in most cases, we don't really know each other. Our communities, when they're insular, don't really know each other. So there's a lot of opportunity to introduce people to that next broadcaster. And you're also kind of giving that blessing of, I love what this person does. Let's introduce out there. And raid trains, I know our women's guild have operated so many in the past year and they were a huge success. I'm so excited to see this one. I know after today's show, we're actually, I think, raiding into the existing raid train. So I'll just need to know who's live so we can send that love over there. That it's just a great way to get folks together in the same way that you would treat it like almost like a festival of like, hey, there's a lineup of DJs. Hey, let's just go watch each person's set. So a great opportunity for those of you in chat who broadcast, start thinking about like, is there an opportunity to create a raid train across fellow broadcasters that I collaborate with the guilds, if you're a member of a guild or any of our creator clubs. I think it's a great way to start expanding that reach, because everybody talks about discoverability. The best way to be discovered is honestly through expanding that network that you currently have. I know I asked this question to the Dynamite Twins, but I'm curious for yourself. Obviously, you're in the beginning phases of career. You're getting everything settled. Where would you like to see your career go in the future? Would you like to expand into traditional broadcasting, entertainment? They were saying how they want a giant stage ahead of them. How are you thinking for yourself forward?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think like I've definitely thought about this in a lot of different ways. I think I'm very much someone who's kind of bounced around a lot of ways anyway. Like at school, I wanted to be an architect or something, and then I wanted to be an actor. Then I went and did film. I think I'm at the point where I think where I want to be is doing something creative where I get to express myself. And so in a lot of ways, Twitch is kind of the ideal space for that. It's like, I know how hard that is though. So it's very much if I was able to be in a position where I could dedicate my time to Twitch, I would love it. I also, on the side, have been trying to like make more indie films, do more script writing, and get into things like the TV here or film gaming here. So I don't know. I think I'm one of those people, like, I'll probably end up doing like 3 different things in my life, and I'm fine with that.
That's good. That's good. It's funny because Pink Lady called me out like, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" It's like, no.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of a similar thing where, like, if a person were to ever ask me that question, I'm like, I just kind of roll with where it goes, but it stems from I just want the world to suck less because there's a lot of bad in the world. So, like, how can I just make it better for people? And I love that you're dabbling in the expansion of your skill sets to the other mediums, like, you know, when you're talking about script writing or like doing shorts again, or like eventually probably pushing to festival circuits or going into production in different capacities. A lot of the skills that we develop here on Twitch are transferable out into the greater ecosystem when it comes to even just our speaking ability. The more you broadcast, the stronger you become as a speaker. And that's going to help you in many ways. So I like that you were like, you know what? My life is going to be a dabbling with a bunch of arts, and I'm fine with that. And I actually like what Kay Breeze just said. Growth is not always linear. In fact, it isn't linear. Anybody who tells you the line always goes up, they're probably just trying to sell a stock because it doesn't work that way. Nothing is ever always going up. But it is, you know, where do we want to, you know, grow from there? Where do you want to go to the next thing? I love that. Do you have any like in addition to the raid train, I guess what's coming up in your cycle for the rest of the year when it comes to games you're broadcasting or things that you're going to take on challenge wise?
Yeah, that's a good question. So at the moment, I think it's probably like the busiest part of the year. Like I always pick up a million things during Black History Month to do. Even just before this, I was in the session 0 for a friend of mine is running a like all Black History Month like tabletop game. It's in a system they built themselves called Heartbeats in Perfect Sync, I believe. And so we're going to be doing that every Tuesday throughout the month for the rest of the month on
Amazing.
the Euphoria channel, which because it's all like EU people. So that's really exciting. We got the raid train. I also have my chat managed to, when I was doing my last subathon, hit the horror stream thing. So I've got to do some horror streams this month. And then, yeah, I've just got New Game Tuesdays for the rest of the year. And then at the end of the month as well, there's MCM Comic Con, which I'm cosplaying for. So this month is like, I'm going to be doing a lot of streams of trying to learn how to do sewing because we did some paying streams preparing part of my outfit, but now I need to learn how to sew the rest. And then
what are you cosplaying at MCN? I'm just curious. Like what character are you cosplaying?
So I'm going to be cosplaying Luz from the Owl House.
Amazing.
If you know
amazing. Yes.
I've got the stuff next to me.
Oh, here we go. All right, let's showcase some.
With the
Whoa, okay. That's legit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We were working on that last week, and that was really fun.
Oh my. Well, I absolutely love it. I love the energy you bring to our space, the fact that you're willing to open yourself with the vulnerability of let's try this or let's do this, but also like placing yourself into great hope as something fell, and I bet it was
something over the cameras.
So literally the energy took out the camera. Don't worry.
When I say chaos,
chaos is what happens here. This is literally live broadcasting. Well, John, I would love to know who is currently live with the raid train, because we did want to send the love on from this channel to them. Who is live currently that we can send over to?
So currently, I believe it is Reaper is live. I can send you the exact name.
Yeah, send it over on Discord, and that way I will put it in for here. Hey, I'm just happy, and the chat did call this out. With the camera freeze, it is a perfect freeze frame that happened because you were smiling. If mine was going, I'd be like or something. It would be awful. I never get a blessed
Yeah.
freeze frame on anything that I do.
I'll take
It's
it.
just-
That was. I
No,
told
it's
my chat
perfect.
that something would go wrong, and I guess I was right.
No,
Right,
you're
let me
perfect.
grab
You're
the
back.
link.
All right, perfect. We'll get that going on this front. Kanara, I appreciate you. Kwai, thank you so much for the stream. Love them and like to see them more. Honestly, all of our guests today are just great people that you need to follow. Obviously, follow Chalky Plays here with everything that they're creating. Dynamite Twins, who was on just a little bit earlier. Let me grab the link of who we're going to send the love on to, who's live right now as part of our Black History Month raid train. Let me set it up. 1 second. I always love as broadcaster because we are ultimately the host, the producer, everything else in between. And there's a lot of us saying, hold please, hold please, hold please.
Yeah,
All right, there we
there's a
go.
lot of how do I stall while this thing that's broken gets
Always.
fixed.
If you're not a true streamer until your audio doesn't work, your camera freezes, or the game just doesn't capture correctly or starts glitching. It is a
Yep.
fact. And that's what makes this legit. All right, I am
I
starting
was
the
so
raid
proud
prompt.
when my mic was unmuted instead of starting this and being muted, so I knew something had to break instead.
Hey, it works, but you're an absolute blessing to our space. I'm really grateful for you coming on the show and having this convo. Huge success today, and best wishes for the raid train. For everybody in chat, keep being awesome. I hope you have a great rest of today and even better tomorrow. And we're going to see you the next time on Let's Chat. Join us in this raid, everybody. Send the love on, please, to Reaper28. We'll see you soon, everybody. Thank you again.
Bye.
We'll see you. Bye.